Welcome to the Encyclopedia of Catholic Theology live stream. I'm Gideon Barr, the Executive Director of the Encyclopedia of Catholic Theology, and I'm here tonight in studio with Father Cajetan Cuddy, the General Editor of the Encyclopedia of Catholic Theology. Father Cuddy, welcome to Cape Girardeau.
Thank you. It's great, as always, to visit you in this place and for this purpose.
Yes, we're excited to be in studio. We're excited to have you here, and we thought what we would do tonight. The Encyclopedia of Catholic Theology, our YouTube channel, our ECT Plus, our Substack, our X, Twitter account. These groups of people following the project have grown quite a bit in the last, since our launch last August, in August 15th of 2024. And I realized that a number of people may be kind of following the project, but not ever really get the full story of what we're doing, and why we're doing all the different things that we're doing. And so I thought what we'd do here tonight, Father, is talk about, just give people an update of where the ECT stands as a project right now, do a little bit of office hours of just kind of from the desk of the general editor, where do things stand with the project, but then give our viewers, maybe who are just following us for the first time in the last week or month or in this new year, 2025, give them some of the backstory of the project, and our vision and our plan, and then maybe show off the ECT, the website, what we're doing, and then maybe as a kind of final thing, talk a little bit about what's coming next, kind of behind the scenes of the project. So why don't we start and just have you kind of give us an update of, from your perspective, where are we at with ECT? Where do things stand? What kind of resources do we have available already?
So it's remarkable, thanks to your industry and vision and the work of our team. We have, and that you have them right there, first and foremost, very prominently, the first two books in the Catholic Handbook series. And the Catholic Handbook series is inspired by a work that is basically in the basement of every rectory in the United States.
That's true.
It's called the 20th Century Encyclopedia of Theology, and there are many great famous works there. Works by theologians like Yves Congar, Charles Journet, Philippe de la Trinité. It was a large series, but it attempted in small books to give people a digestible, readable, accessible overview of all the topics of Catholic theology.
Often those books, the titles would be in the form of a question.
Yes.
Like, what is a sacrament? Right.
What is grace?
Yeah.
What is theology? Is theology a science?
Right.
And so what we are doing is, in addition to, we'll talk more about how the ECT fits together, what it is. It's a very interesting thing because it's elusive, seemingly, even though it's very simple because we do so much.
Right.
But one of the very interesting things is, in addition to getting the site up and running, and we'll talk more about that, we also have these two books out. And my book came out at the end of last year, the beginning of this year. It's an introduction to Catholic theology. And then we have a wonderful moral theologian from Providence, Rhode Island, Father Ryan Connors, who's the rector of Our Lady of Providence Seminary there. He wrote an introduction to moral theology. And then we have forthcoming a book by Professor John Brunghart on natural philosophy, also known at times as physics or philosophy of nature.
Right.
So that's the first and most exciting thing. Additionally, and forgive me, Gideon, if I'm not following, I don't want to.
No, please.
But the site.
Right.
So your vision, there's a lot of things on that site which look deceptively simple and easy. And that's because you and the technicians with which you've been working, the programmers, have made them such. A site's musculature should not be the most overt thing if it's doing its job. You only notice a site's components if it's doing well. And so what we've done is, in addition to setting up the site with articles, book reviews, links, the lexicon, the definitions of different theological terms, we have also just have the first article about Catholic theology and introduction in Spanish translation.
Yes.
We had a professional translator do it. She did a marvelous job. And we just received today the draft of the French translation by a Frenchman who supports the project. And our plan, and this is, I should say, your plan, your vision, is to have all of the articles online.
Mm-hmm.
With the right-hand column, you have EN for English. That's what they're all set up to start now. But then you can have Spanish, Italian, French, German, Slovak, Czech, Polish,
Mm-hmm.
British English, if we think that's different than American English.
They
No, I'm
need
kidding.
it.
Yeah, they need it. So that just happened since we had one of these. Is
Right.
we have now Spanish for one of the articles up. We are currently working on translating the other articles.
Mm-hmm.
And additionally, please go ahead.
So
Yeah.
the Spanish translation of your article, Catholic Theology, is now, is it Theologia Católica? That's the,
Yeah. Yes.
and then
We have the French version coming out,
Yeah.
the Théologie catholique, une
Very good.
introduction,
very good.
and then there'll be the others
Yeah, many
forthcoming.
others, yeah.
And
And these are done by professional human translators.
yes,
Yeah, so to ensure kind of both theological fidelity and linguistic accuracy on both of those. Yeah, so there's a lot going on in the ECT. Maybe for our listeners, give them a rundown of what articles are already up on the site. What can they what topics can they find treated? So they can find, of course, yours in English, Spanish, and soon to be French. They can find Father Connor's article, Moral Theology Introduction, in English, but soon to be in Spanish and French, hopefully, as well. What else can they find?
So our most recent article, which we just uploaded, published online last week, is Natural Philosophy by John Brunghart. We also have our managing editor's article on development of doctrine.
Dr. Matthew Minor.
Dr. Matthew Minor, remarkable philosopher.
Let's
and
give a
theologian.
shout out to Dr. Minor
Yeah,
in the
I'm sure
chat.
he might be
we need
watching.
that. That's right.
Giving us a thumbs down or a thumbs up, depending on his instinct at the moment. We also have from Professor Christopher Kazor an article on moral systems, where he presents as a master philosopher an overview of the differences between different approaches to life and happiness, virtue, duty, etc. We also have the article about, remind me here, I see all these, I'm thinking of the ones I'm editing right now, I'm working on.
We have a very recent one also from Father Dylan Schrader.
Oh, of course, on censures.
Theological
Yeah.
notes and censures. What are
Yeah.
theological? Give people the 30-second.
30 seconds. So fortunately, Father Schrader will be here himself to do a full-length thing
Very
with you
soon.
wonderfully, and he's a wonderful theologian and priest. But theological notes and censures are those juridically authoritative decisions and clarifications that come out from the church herself about particular questions or issues.
Okay.
We have that. Of course, that is very significant. We have, deification, Professor Keating, a remarkable theologian from Sacred Heart Seminary in Detroit.
So for viewers as well, I just had dinner with Dr. Keating. He's here. We're going to film what is now tomorrow when you're listening. So viewers can look forward to a suite of media recording with Dr. Keating soon on the subject of deification.
Yes. So there are, of the 8 articles, what are the remaining ones that we haven't yet talked about? There's a lot more coming. That's the problem.
Catholic theology, moral theology, dogmatic development. Dr. Matthew Ramage, Theodicy in the Bible.
Oh, that's tremendous. Yes, Dr. Matthew Ramage from Benedictine College in Atchison, well-known expert.
And he has the great honor of being the first article in the ECT from outside of yourself and Dr. Minard.
And that's deliberate. He's a tremendous worker, disciplined, insightful,
Yes.
and a theologian with expertise not just in theology proper, but also philosophy and scripture.
Right.
He's published significant books on this field, and his article is significant because it talks about a question that's very relevant, because it deals with the fact that basically the problem of evil. How do we deal with the fact that it seems that God causes, he doesn't, it can seem like he causes evil, or at least permits it. And how do we deal with that? And Ramage looks at the biblical text and explains it. And we already have a video with you and him discussing it, which is a tremendous video.
His article especially is like, how does the Bible grapple with this question? Yeah, so we have that, and then deification, philosophy of nature, theological notes and censures, moral systems. Is that everything for now?
That sounds right.
I think it's everything.
Okay.
Stepping back from that, that's a lot of different topics. The moral systems, kind of philosophy, ethical philosophy, something about the Bible, dogmatic development, more like that's a lot of different things. Maybe say a little bit about that.
So this is interesting. This is where the Encyclopedia of Catholic Theology, much like the Christian faith itself, is very, there's nothing it doesn't have contact with.
Mm-hmm.
And so we're very deliberate. We wanted the first article to be an overview of what Catholic theology is, an introduction, and there'll be more detailed and technical articles and varying degrees of precision that come. We wanted something in moral theology because of the relevance of that today, but also because the Bible is significant to Catholic theology. We wanted something on that. We wanted something on doctrinal development, because theology is not just study of the Bible. The Bible and theology both participate in the truth that God has revealed. And so we wanted to understand, how is it that doctrines don't become true when they weren't true before, but clarifications can come. Dr. Miner's done that. But also philosophy. It's impossible to have a theology without philosophical presuppositions, because theology is defined as faith seeking understanding. And therefore, how you understand understanding will affect how we understand faith, which is what we did with our In Focus video on Catholic theology and introduction. So in a word, Catholic theology, and therefore the Encyclopedia of Catholic Theology, is intended to touch on all dimensions of the order of faith and reason, because that's what the church, she does. She's the teacher of men and women about things under the light of faith and reason.
So it's you look under the hood in the Encyclopedia of Catholic Theology, and you're already beginning to get the sense that this is going to kind of cover almost everything. Maybe not every human science, but many things. And I guess that's somewhat evident from the name. You have this encyclopedia, right? This kind of all-around education resource of Catholic, kind of universal theology, which is the highest kind of wisdom. So one shouldn't be surprised to find many and very different subjects treated.
And if I may to gesture towards something that's forthcoming currently and working, one of the forthcoming entries in the encyclopedia and in the online and the handbook is written by Professor Jonathan Lenine, who's a world-renowned theoretical physicist. He was friends with, knew Carl Sagan. This is top physicist. He's a convert to the faith from years ago. And we have asked him to do the entry on the general introduction to the relationship between religion and science. So just something that most people would say, that's hard to get. And we have been blessed to be able to get a top scientist who's a student of philosophy and theology to write on that, which is something that isn't easy to do. So if I may pat ourselves in the back,
Certainly.
This is not just a little,
with gratitude.
yeah, guys watch YouTube
many
videos
others.
like this. It's, I'm interested in science. This is a top physicist who's writing on this. Additionally, I can go into some of the other.
Well, I mean,
please.
maybe let's leave some of the other
All right.
forthcoming things for paying subscribers. I'm kidding, but we can kind of leave more for future discussions. But but our purpose here, we make media, we make books. When we're creating this online resource, maybe tell people a little bit about how is it that, are we doing one thing or are we doing three things, Father? What are we doing?
So good. Again, you're being very modest, but this is your vision. So the best way to understand the ECT is a three-dimensional holistic presentation of Catholic doctrine and all those things ordered towards Catholic doctrine. And I say three-dimensional because on one dimension, we're going to consider, as we've already said, a wide variety of topics within Catholic doctrine, and those things ancillary to, preliminary towards the preambula and things, the implications. So that means within the Catholic Encyclopedia, you will find reference to things that are both accessible and introductory, as well as more technical and precise, because Catholic theology is a discipline which comprises within it all those dimensions of depth. You will find a variety of topics, including things like natural science, philosophy, art, culture, literature related to Catholic theology. And you will also find, as people have noticed, spiritual reflections, pastoral observations, because our great conviction is that Catholic theology is not just an intellectual head game,
Mm-hmm.
but it's knowing the truth about reality.
Mm-hmm.
And as the famous saying goes, as a man or woman thinketh in his heart, so is he. So if one of the great things our great focuses, our great emphasis is that this faith-seeking understanding, which we wish to facilitate, cultivate, and encourage in the world, Catholic theology, faith-seeking understanding, has real implications. So
Mm-hmm.
now if we can pivot to some of the other dimensions, because of that, people learn differently.
Mm-hmm.
And sometimes they learn the same thing best by cycling through different media.
Mm-hmm.
So the center of the Catholic Encyclopedia is, of course, the website with the free online downloadable articles written by theologians like Keating, like Father Schrader, like Dr. Meinert,
Mm-hmm.
like Professor Kazor, all of our Dan, all of them. And then for some of the topics, the online book reviews open to everyone with internet access, which is virtually anyone. But then some people prefer tactility. And so what the Catholic Handbook series, which you came up with, is it takes the essence of the online articles, for some of the online articles, the main topics, and adds to them. So if you can think of the ECT online and then think of the Catholic handbooks take, the online is like 80%, 75% of what's available in book form. There's a lot of overlap, but the books have a little
Mm-hmm.
extra chapters, extra sections, because some people prefer not reading on a screen, but having the option for a handbook that you can
Right.
hold in your hand. And then thirdly, what we're doing now. Some people don't like to read,
Right.
but as they clean, as they drive, as they work out, they enjoy listening to conversations with theologians,
Mm-hmm.
or not just theologians, philosophers, historians, experts about everything. And so the ECT thus is trying to employ every kind of media, online reading, printed materials, and interviews, podcasts, homilies, reflections,
Mm-hmm.
conversations, so that however people best receive information, they can receive it.
Right.
Um,
Yeah, that's the so it is one thing that we're doing, but
yes.
it's one thing that has kind of three interrelated parts or endeavors. None of the three things kind of getting away from the other three things. We're trying to kind of um, create or share the content of the website in the books, share the content of the website in the videos, in the podcast, um, and try and create a kind of repository of information, both online but also in print and in digital media form. That, as we said, kind of covers everything and is kind of continually growing. It's not just a kind of, it's not 10 books or 10 articles and okay, now we're done. We can kind of walk away from it. But what we foresee is an ongoing project that continues to mature and deepen in its comprehension of all these different things. Um, Maybe for newer people kind of in our audience, following us for the first time, hearing about this project for the first time, we should uh, give a little bit of the backstory. People who are kind of joining us midstream here, what what is the origin story of the ECT?
So that's kind of you to ask. So I'll tell it from my vantage point, and then that will set you up for
Okay.
providing because I come in like after the story's already begun.
Okay.
So I receive a lot of emails from a lot of people about a lot of things. I try to respond to them if they're reasonable and people are sincere. And so I got an email from Gideon Barr asking if I would have time for a telephone conversation. That was you.
Hmm.
Now, we had met before, or
We had emailed
we
before.
had emailed before.
Mhm.
And so, as a priest and as a Dominican, I'd say about half the contact requests for me are for pastoral things, half of them for academic. Usually the academic things are written out, and usually the pastoral things are, can we have a phone conversation or something like that? So I assumed that this was a very devout, sincere young man who had a question about, I didn't know you were married and had a family already, maybe vocation. So we call, and you call me and you say, hey, I have an idea. Uh, Formation for students at all levels, high school, college, university, grad school, seminary, is very important. And one of the challenges is that throughout the world, it's hard to find reliable, accessible, both in terms of level of difficulty, but also I can get them accessibility,
Hmm.
materials on Catholic theology. And you had expressed how you had known specifically some priests who are wonderful priests from countries that are poorer than the United States or
Hmm.
Europe and have difficulty getting, even in seminaries, access to quality resources. And you had initially, it was very touching. You said you had thought about, collecting money to buy 10 of the best books, and like a bunch of them, and shipping them over there. But then you came up with the idea of an online Catholic encyclopedia
Hmm.
modeled after different encyclopedias online, both Catholic or resources, online resources for Catholic philosophy and theology. And what did I think? And I said, well, I think that's very nice, very wonderful. God bless you. Good. And then a week later, we have another conversation and then another. And so your sanctified persistence uh, was the origin of this. And because you're modest, but I'll say it, you have the vision. You're an ideas man, because we started talking about the online website, what it would require, how to get theologians, philosophers to participate, what types of articles we wanted. But then you had the idea of the books. And I said, okay, well, now we're starting a press. We have literally started, I'll look at the camera. We have started a press because of this man here. This is, we do everything, production, layout, design. We have people we work with, of course, but this was your idea, Gideon. And then you said, we got to have YouTube. YouTube multimedia is big. So had I known what this would entail 2 years ago or whenever we first began, I probably would have been hesitant. But now that I'm invested with you because it's such a good thing, we're in it. But that's my entrance point.
Hmm.
Now, obviously, you have more because before you called me, you were thinking about this.
Sure, sure. I mean, yeah. So uh, my life has been very much impacted by priests, specifically priests not born in the United States. Sort of mentors, friends, acquaintances of various kinds, colleagues even. Um, and you're right. I through friendship with these various men, many of them from Africa, different countries in Africa. Um, I had had an idea in the past of, yeah, I wanted to, okay, a good book in theology comes out. I buy it on Amazon, I read it. Um, and the thought occurred to me, like, wouldn't it be great if I could go to a parish and do a little fundraiser and buy 100, 200, 500 copies of this book, put it on a pallet, wrap it in plastic, and send it on a boat uh, to another continent. But for a lot of reasons, that's not the most practical, uh, most efficient means of achieving the end that I had in mind, which was helping, especially seminaries, have access to the best educational resources, the most up to date type of things. And so that's an idea I had many years ago. But I was using a couple of different online resources, and it occurred to me if there were a website that could house all of the best resources in Catholic theology, that internet access is increasing worldwide. It's very common in the countries that a lot of these priests were from. If we could have a site that did all of that, um, it would go a long way to solving that problem. And so that idea or that kind of constellation of ideas was in the early part of 2023, and our initial conversations were probably in the middle to latter part of 2023. And so for the 6 to 8 months before I reached out to Father Cuddy, I talked to a couple of other different people, did research, and tried to wrap my and thought of some other kind of related ideas, um, and really tried to put the idea together. That way, when I could present it to someone like you, it was well thought out. And I would say that that phase before I reached out to you was a kind of initial phase of ideation in which I was thinking and researching and that kind of thing. But once we connected, and once through a series of conversations, we kind of came to a common purpose, which really kind of terminated in you accepting to be the general editor of the project, which is a very good thing. I don't know if I don't know if it would have made it out of the ideation phase had you not agreed to that. But you're very well suited to this work, and I'm more well suited to the work I'm doing now as the executive director. But that I would say that our coming together on this is a new phase in the story of the ECT, which lasted about a year. So I think we talked in the summer of 2023, and it was in the late summer of 2024 that the ECT had its sort of public launch. And so for that year, we were just reflecting how it's been some time since we started working on it. That year, you and I spent fleshing out these ideas, making concrete plans, and then actually beginning to build the product of the website, beginning to write, in your case, the product of the first book, teaming up very importantly with Dr. Matthew Minard.
Yes.
Maybe tell people about that part. That's more your.
So Dr. Matthew Minard he's a very gifted speculative man, but he also
Very gifted,
is extroverted and engaging and likes networking in the good sense of being with people.
Mm-hmm.
And so when we began, part of the initial phases of building anything is to make something that doesn't exist. And academics, understandably, are busy. And they say, okay, I'm already committed to write these books and these articles, and you're asking me to write for this, and it doesn't exist yet. And I knew if I could get Dr. Minard, because of our friendship and working together, to invest in this, he and I could get enough of a foundation, both our own articles, our own initial work, and then through our connections, we could, and it is a tremendous benefit. He's a very a tremendous thinker. He believes in Jesus, loves him, loves the church. And he's gifted as a theologian and as a philosopher, and he enjoys sending emails. He tells me, so that's helpful. That's why he's the managing editor. He handles a lot of the correspondence off, and he's very good about that. So I can't say enough about Dr. Minard's value.
Yes, and so we were making plans, drafting out who we wanted to write different articles, actually building the website, actually publishing the first book. I would be remiss if I didn't mention the many people who, through their various sort of ways of supporting the project, whether it's through their sort of donation of their services and time, but also through many people, especially here in Cape Girardeau, Missouri, who financially supported the project, which again is a bit of a leap. Just like for an academic, you want me to write something, but it doesn't exist yet. For these people, it's like you want me to give money to something that doesn't exist yet. That is an idea. But there are many people here, many people of faith, people who believe in God, and people who could see and understand what it is we were trying to do, who have supported this project very generously and made a lot of that possible. And so that is sort of there was the ideation phase, and then there's about a year of building phase, which became progressively more kind of intense the closer we got to the date of the launch. And then August 15th, 2024, we launch, and the site is live, and it has a couple of reviews, a number of lexical definitions, and 2 articles, your article and that of Dr. Matthew Minard.
This is in the early phase. It's not what we have today.
Not today. Today there are many more, but at the date of the launch, we had 2 articles, and then And then it was Dr. Matthew Ramage, who was kind of first through the gate
God bless
with
him.
another article. But so that was the public launch was the end of the building phase. It was built at that point, basically. And since then, I would say we're probably in the scaling phase. We're trying to scale the number of articles, trying to scale financial support, trying to scale the number of books, trying to scale developing an audience through digital media. Um, Maybe tell people a little bit about that from your
Yes, so
experience.
I think that we have the hardest part, the hardest initial part has been done. ECT exists,
Hmm.
and not just in our minds, but on the World Wide Web, on the physical page, and on YouTube,
Yeah.
X, ECT Plus, online media platforms. Wonderful. Now what we're doing is, yes, the scaling. So we have dozens and dozens of articles in production or in editing, copy editing, getting ready for publication online, book form, online and book form. And one of the key things now is it's something you and I both are very grateful for. We have continued to be able to have many generous leaders in the church and in the academic world serve as on our board of advisors.
Hmm.
So the list, we have some at this point, and not all of the people that have agreed are yet on our list, but our growing list of both contributors, top theologians, philosophers, historians, and
Hmm.
biblical scholars, the executive editorial board, tremendous men, figures, our board of advisors. We have bishops, rectors of seminary, presidents of universities,
Hmm.
uh, lay people, clerics, monks, bishops.
Hmm.
And what makes us most happy is that the ECT now has that three-dimensional existence. It has a certain structure and intelligibility. The skeleton has been erected,
Hmm.
and now we can put all the pieces
Hmm.
on the framework that was really your thought. And so, and this is something, by the way, in terms of when we say this is not something in 10 years we're going to be like, okay, we did this. Our hope is that long after you and I are gone, please God, we're in heaven,
Hmm.
this will continue,
A multi-generational project.
multi-generational, until the eschaton. So
God
new
willing.
editions of books, revisions of articles, additional articles,
Hmm.
because theology, the mystery of God is so depthless because He's infinite. There's always more to learn. There's always more to see and contemplate. So there'll never be a time where we're like, well, we ran out of things to talk about God. That's never going to happen.
Right.
So,
And I'll say two things on this. So, just so people know, so we have the online resource, we have the books, we have the digital media. All of these things have names, right? So, the general project is the Encyclopedia of Catholic Theology. The online resource is at ect.org, right? That's where it is. When we're talking, we say the ECT. We usually mean either the whole project or the online resource. Um, the books have a name, and the name is the Catholic Handbooks series, right? The Catholic Handbook series, which are these extensions and expansions of a kind of a companion book series to the online resource. And then the digital media, or where we kind of keep the digital media, firstly and kind of primarily, is what we call ECT Plus. Right, so ectplus.org, ectplus.org, which is linked on our website and on all of our videos, is hosted on the Substack platform, and all the media that we produce, videos, podcasts, homilies, these kinds of things, goes there first. And some of the media we produce only goes there. And of course, we have a presence on the major platforms: X, YouTube, Facebook, and Instagram. Um, but we're really trying to build a tight knit following and community on ECT Plus. So that's the first thing. Each of the parts of the project have a distinct kind of name and understanding. The other thing I'll say about where we stand now in this scaling phase is that not only are we not done yet from a quantitative perspective, like there will be more articles, there will be more books, there will be more videos. We're not done yet on any of the three things. We're not done yet from a qualitative perspective. That is, there are features um, and things on the website that can be, and we intend to and are currently planning to develop. There are types of media, very exciting kind of media projects that are in development as well. And there's more that we hope to do in print as well. So we haven't even really fully fleshed out our initial vision, everything that was included in the initial vision of each of these three kind of components of what we do. So we're in the scaling phase, but just initially in the scaling phase with much more to come, and kind of a much, not just more quantitatively, but more qualitatively, a richer experience in each of these three components.
Yes.
Yes.
And that's, again, your vision and creativity and insight and native entrepreneurial genius. It's a remarkable thing.
So we're doing all three of these things under one banner as one kind of cohesive project. And I gave a little bit of the backstory, the motivation for me of how I started to do this. But maybe what's the teleology, the final cause, the purpose of this project as a whole? Why are we doing this, Father?
Good. So we are doing this. The motto of the ECT, which you came up with, is Pro Tota Ecclesia, for the whole church. And now we have just had the election of His Holiness Leo the 14th.
Mm-hmm.
And so this is a perfect opportunity. I know there's much interest and excitement around the world, not even only in the church, but outside the church, about the new Holy Father. But our fundamental conviction, and I say this as a priest myself, as a Dominican friar and a believer, that Catholic theology is unintelligible apart from and inseparable, undividable from God. And God has instituted His one holy Catholic Church, which means that all of theology points to God and is in union with the church. And so our goal is not just to interest media consumers. Our goal is not to merely promote education and smarts. Our goal is not to have best-selling books. Our goal transcends.
Although we do
that.
hope to
Yeah,
sell
we do hope to
books,
please.
just,
Yeah, is not only is to serve the church, the bride of Christ. She is the unique guardian and guarantor of the deposit of faith, the divine revelation, the holy teaching that God, Jesus, has confided to her for the salvation of the world. And so our mission then, in all of these various dimensions and efforts and media, is to humbly, sincerely, but energetically and lovingly serve the church in her mission, because her mission is inseparable from God and His mission. And what He did is send His Son to die for the cross to save us and bring us to Him.
When you think about that motto, which I think now of course the meaning of it, of course, is so perennially relevant, but the genesis of that actually don't. It may be lost to the sands of time now. I can't remember how I came upon it, but
you were reading the documents, I think, of Vatican II.
it's it. Yes, yes. But there are several close approximations of it in the Second Vatican Council, um, um, but that it's a three Latin words, pro tota ecclesia, um, and but tight with meaning, for what, right? For the church, modified, right, by the whole thing, the whole church. That's why we're doing this project, right? In the service of God and His Holy Catholic Church, and so we're very excited about the election of the new Holy Father, and continue to do our work in love and service to that church, to our church, and so that's our purpose in the project. And so if other people are sympathetic with that purpose, our viewers, our audience, we implore your continued support if that project is something that resonates and that you would like to contribute to. There are many ways in which you can do that. Any more on that, Father?
No, I smiled.
Okay.
It was perfectly smiling, because as you speak now, I'm remembering the phone conversation where you were pitching pro tota ecclesia. The same kind of things you said then on the phone, you're saying now. It's very good, very good.
So I think what we want to do now, hopeful and trusting in technology and our fine technologist, Justin.
Remarkable man.
Justin, dude, can we demo the site a little bit for people? So we've talked about what the ECT is. We talked about the online website, but I think a lot of people watch our videos, but have never traversed and actually seen the site and seen what it is we're trying to build. So I'll wait for the cue from Justin to see if we're on screen. So you should be seeing now, as I talk to you in a disembodied mode, you should be seeing now the homepage of our website. So you can see that there's a search bar, which can find, the articles you're looking for. But I think what we should do now is go to our About page, right, which explains our project and gives some of that skeletal structure that we were talking about. And on the About page, we have our mission statement. We have our core values, which are academic. And let's talk about each of these values. So academic, faithful, accessible. Father, do you want to say?
Sure, academic. So it facilitates catechesis, but what we want is authentic theology. So we want to examine the entirety of the deposit of faith, which is possible, the catechism, but we want to go deeper. So we want it to be rigorous. That's why we rely upon and benefit from really strong, robust scholarship.
So everyone who writes for the ECT is a credentialed
yes.
Catholic philosopher,
yes.
theologian,
historian, biblical scholar, all of that. Good, yeah. And accessibility, we want it to be accessible, but accessible doesn't mean dumbed down. Mm-hmm. Because there's different degrees of accessibility. Mm-hmm. And so we use the word accessibility very precisely because someone who's new to Catholic theology, we want things that are accessible to them, mm-hmm. but we also want things that are accessible to more advanced students and more advanced practitioners of philosophy, theology, and sacred doctrine.
And then the word faithful.
And faithful, we're committed to the church.
We're committed to the church, that's right.
There's nothing, and to God, although it is academic, although it is accessible, neither academia nor accessibility, which is to say neither the expectations of modern university structures, nor what sells only, mm-hmm. govern it. It's God governs it. We are in union with the church. So mm-hmm. that's kind of the central, pivotal axis around which mm-hmm. the academic and the accessibility revolve.
And then you should be able to see our kind of staff, our editorial leadership, myself, Father Cuddy, Dr. Minard, our reviews editor, Father David Paternostro.
Wonderful Jesuit priest.
Yes. Soon to be professor at Creighton University.
Well, God bless him.
Yeah,
wonderful.
God bless him there. The people in Omaha are
very blessed.
Very blessed to have him. Our executive editorial board, Father Ryan Connors, author of Moral Theology and an Introduction, on sale now. And then Dr. Gerald Boersma, Father Anthony Giambroni, and
Father Aaron Pidell.
Father Aaron Pidell. That's right. Another wonderful Jesuit professor at the Gregorian in Rome. And then you scroll down further, you can kind of see who's the intended audience of the ECT. The first intended audience is seminarians. Right, seminarians, seminary professors, and formators. The second intended audience are priests and catechists in the parochial setting and Catholic education. And then third is just the widest possible readership of lay and interested people searching out the truth of the Catholic faith. And then we come to our board of advisors. And so as Father said earlier, there are a number of very prominent Catholic leaders, both in academic life, professional life, apostolic organizations. Do you want to say a few things about?
No, all of them are remarkable people.
Truly remarkable.
Yeah.
People.
So we just to point out that we have representatives from the hierarchy, from the church, from parishes, from colleges, from universities, from academia,
from seminaries,
rectors. We could have a whole episode just talking about how remarkable these figures are. So in order not to make this 5 hours, which you
Right.
and I would love to
We
do,
won't go into
but
each
we
and
won't go
every
to.
one,
But
but we're
yeah,
blessed and grateful for the participation of all these people. Um, so now so you can also see a list of forthcoming articles, many great Catholic theologians, philosophers on that list that you can peruse that at your leisure. But if we go back to the homepage and then to that we hit the explore button, which opens up a kind of a navigation of the various articles, lexicon definitions, and reviews on the site. We go to Father Cuddy's article, and you can kind of see how um, what an article looks like. The interface that the user can use to navigate the article can look at the bibliography, the citations, can jump to various sections of the article. But then I think the thing we're kind of presently most excited about is the introduction of the translation function on the website. So in the top right of the header of the article, you see this little EN. The article is now in English, but that you can click it and drop down, and there will be a selection of languages in which that article is available. Right now it's Spanish, but soon we'll have a translation in French, and you can toggle the language of the article. And of course, the articles are searchable in these various languages online and that kind of thing. But it's amazing. It may seem like a small feature, but when you toggle an article into another language, you open up geographically and linguistically the audience for these articles, which is a powerful thing. And in these various regions of the world that are that use a different language than English, that have a different culture, um, that simple feature, which of course provides a translation that's done by a professional, that's up to our standards and values. Um, but that
it's not
article,
AI done.
it's
It's not
not done
AI,
by
not
AI.
Google Translate, not
No,
DeepL. Yeah.
yeah, but it's a professional translation of this article, and now this thing becomes useful to a whole new section of people, and and a whole new kind of area in the one Catholic Church. And so this is something we're very excited about, and we'll be pressing forward with great zeal to develop even further, and not just on Father Cuddy's article, but on every
On
article.
everything.
That's right. So for those who are watching, we wanted you to see not just you Father Cuddy's homilies or spiritual reflections of various kinds, but we wanted you to see what we're building. What is this project all about? And we wanted to explain to people kind of the inside story of what uh, the Encyclopedia of Catholic Theology is all about. So what I think we should do now, unless Justin gives me a signal to the contrary, is I think what we want to do now is end our streaming, end our availability both to our good friends on the X platform, but also to our good friends on YouTube. But continue on ECT Plus. So, and this is a general kind of rule of thumb. If you want to interact with the authors, editors, personalities behind and involved with the ECT Plus is the place to do that, where you can ask questions and you can get everything that we make early and often and exclusively on certain occasions directly in your inbox on ECT Plus. So we encourage everyone to go. There should be a link in the description or in the bio of our X profile to come on over to ECT Plus. You can subscribe for free, but there are also paid options which open up uh, certain media to you, and it's one of the best ways that you can support the project. Is you get something for it. You're able to watch these things early. You're able to see certain exclusive media productions of ours, but you're also able to be a part of this and to kind of power even more uh, development of each of these three components of the online resource: the translations of articles, of new books, and of more robust media projects that we intend to do. So we encourage everyone to come over to ECT Plus, and if you have a question, I think we're just going to kind of consider this two things. One is going to be we're going to talk a little bit inside access of what's forthcoming, what's not publicly visible, but nevertheless very real and forthcoming to the ECT. And we'll also open up any questions if people have them for Father Cuddy. So we'll see you in just a few moments behind the walls of ECT Plus.